The first strike came without warning. The alien skies burned with fire as human warships broke through the blockade. Towers crumbled, soldiers shouted, and the once proud palace shook under the sound of war. Princess Serenia stood at the balcony of her chamber, her golden eyes filled with fury. To her, this was proof of what she had always believed: humans were nothing but destroyers. Her people had told her stories since she was a child. Stories of human brutality, of their greed for planets, of their endless hunger for power. She had grown up despising them, her hatred forged like a blade. Now, seeing their fleet unleash destruction upon her world, her anger burned hotter than the flames rising from the capital. Guards rushed into her chamber. "Princess, we must get you to safety," one shouted. She allowed them to lead her through marble halls, down the hidden passages carved for moments like this. Her hands clenched tight as she thought, "Humans will pay for this." Every one of them. The convoy moved quickly through the ruins of the city. Explosions thundered behind them. The skies split open as ships dueled above, streaks of fire and metal raining down. Civilians screamed and scattered. Yet in her heart, Serenia felt no fear, only rage. She was a princess of the empire. She would see these invaders destroyed. But fate is a strange thing. As her convoy crossed a shattered plaza, a human strike hit near them. The blast overturned the lead transport, crushing guards beneath falling stone. Panic spread. More human soldiers descended from the sky, their weapons cutting down her escort. She tried to fight back, drawing the ceremonial blade at her waist, but the battlefield swallowed her in smoke and chaos. She stumbled away from the burning wreckage, coughing as ash filled her lungs. When the smoke cleared, she saw her guards. Scattered, some dead, some fleeing. She was alone. Alone, except for the shadow that moved behind her. Serenia spun, her blade trembling in her grip. Standing before her was a human soldier. His armor was scratched, his face streaked with dirt and blood. His weapon hung at his side, but his eyes dark and steady locked on hers. She raised her blade. "You will not take me alive," she hissed, her voice sharp with venom, but the human did not lift his gun. He looked past her, toward the ruins where alien soldiers were regrouping, their weapons trained on her. Before she could understand what was happening, the human lunged not at her, but at the attackers. His weapon roared, cutting down the soldiers who aimed to kill her. She froze. The world slowed. Why would he do this? The human grabbed her arm. "Move if you want to live," he shouted. His voice was deep, commanding, yet not cruel. She pulled against him, fury flashing in her eyes, but another explosion sent stone raining down. Against her pride, against her hatred, she let him drag her into the shelter of a fallen arch. "You dare touch me," she spat, yanking her arm free. "You're human, you're my enemy." He turned to face her, his chest heaving, his weapon ready as more soldiers approached. "Enemy or not," he growled, "I just saved your life. Now stay down if you don't want to lose it." Her heart pounded. She wanted to hate him, to strike him down. But the truth was undeniable. Without him, she would already be dead. For the first time in her life, the alien princess looked at a human and felt something other than hatred. She felt confusion. She felt doubt. And deep inside, buried beneath walls of pride, she felt the faintest spark of something she had never expected. It was only the beginning. Asterisk. The ruins stretched endlessly around them, broken walls and burning towers painting the city in shadows of war. Princess Serenia pressed her back against the cracked stone, her breath sharp with anger and confusion. Beside her, the human soldier reloaded his weapon with steady hands, his eyes never leaving the smoke-filled street ahead. She clenched her fists. Every part of her screamed to run from him, to strike him down, to fulfill the hatred her people had carved into her heart. Yet when she looked at him, covered in ash and blood, she could not ignore the truth. He had saved her, not once, But, twice, you think I trust you because you killed my enemies? She hissed. Her voice carried the sharpness of a blade. The human did not flinch. I don't care if you trust me. But if you want to live, you'll stay close. His words stung. Her pride. No one had ever spoken to her like that, not even her generals. She was a princess, heir to the empire, and yet here she was standing beside a human, trapped in the same ruins. She hated it. She hated him. And yet, some part of her hated herself more for needing his help. They moved cautiously through the rubble. The soldier leading with his weapon raised, the princess following reluctantly, her blade still in hand. The streets were empty but alive with danger. Distant screams echoed. Fires crackled in the wind. Somewhere above, the rumble of warships shook the skies. At one point, she stumbled on a loose stone. He reached for her instinctively, steadying her with his hand. She jerked away as if burned. "Don't touch me," she snapped. "Fine," he muttered, his eyes scanning the horizon. "But if you fall behind, you're dead." She glared at him, fury burning in her chest. How dare he speak so plainly? Yet, she could not deny his skill. Every step he took was precise, every turn cautious. He moved like someone who had lived through countless battles. Without him, she would have already been found, captured, or killed. They stopped in the shadow of a collapsed tower. He crouched low, motioning for her to do the same. She almost refused, pride refusing to bow, but the sharp whine of approaching drones silenced her rebellion. She lowered herself beside him. Two black machines swept over the ruins, scanning with red lights. Her breath caught in her throat. If they were seen, they would be surrounded. The human soldier reached for her without a word, pulling her closer. Under the arch of broken stone, his arm pressed against hers, his breath warm on her face. She froze, her heart pounding not from fear, but from the strangeness of it. Never in her life had she been this close to a human. The drones passed. Silence returned. He released her and moved away, as if the moment meant nothing. For him, it was survival. For her, it was something she could not explain. They pressed on. Hours seemed to pass in the ruined city. Hunger gnawed at her. Exhaustion slowed her steps. Yet the human soldier did not falter. Finally, as the twin suns began to sink behind the horizon, he led her into the shell of an abandoned structure. Its roof was broken, but its walls gave them cover. He lowered himself to the ground, setting his weapon across his knees. She remained, standing, her back straight, her pride unwilling to rest in his presence. "Sit," he said quietly. Her eyes flashed. "I am a princess. I take no orders from you." He looked at her with tired eyes. "Then stand. But you'll only waste your strength." The words stung, but they also cut through her pride. Slowly, grudgingly, she lowered herself to the ground across from him. For a long time neither spoke. The sound of distant battle filled the silence. Finally, she broke it. "Why?" Her voice was low, hesitant. He looked at her, confused. "Why what?" "Why save me?" she demanded. Her golden eyes burned with questions she had never asked before. "I am your enemy. You should have let me die." For the first time, his expression softened. He sighed, glancing away. "Because not everyone deserves to die, even enemies." Her chest tightened. His words struck something deep within her, something she didn't want to feel. Mercy was weakness, her people always said. Humans were monsters, killers, nothing more. And yet this human had shown her something she had never expected. Mercy. She turned away, angry at herself for even thinking it. "You are a fool," she muttered. "Maybe," he replied, his tone calm, "but you're still alive." The silence returned, heavier this time. Serenia sat in the ruins of her once proud city, beside the one creature she had been taught to despise above all others. She wanted to hate him, but every moment that passed made it harder. Her pride told her one thing: Her heart whispered another. And though she did not want to admit it, she knew the truth. Her survival now depended on him. For the first time, Princess Serenia felt the chains of her hatred weaken, if only slightly. It was the start of an alliance she did not want, but one she could no longer refuse. Night fell across the ruined city, the fires dimming into faint glows beneath the twin moons. Princess Serenia sat awake, her back against the cold wall of the shelter. The human soldier rested nearby, his weapon close, his breathing steady even. In sleep, she envied his calm. Her own heart was restless, torn between pride and fear. She hated herself for needing him. She hated him for making her feel safe. But above all, she hated the thought that her people would see her now hiding beside a human, relying on him for survival. If they knew, they would never forgive her. Her sharp eyes caught movement outside. A squad of alien soldiers crept through the rubble, their weapons raised, their steps silent. They were her people, her loyal warriors. Relief surged in her chest. She stood quickly, ready to reveal herself. But then she froze. The leader raised his hand, signaling the others. His voice was low but clear. The princess must be eliminated. If she has been touched by humans, she is compromised. No risk can be taken. The words cut her like a blade. Her knees weakened. Her people, her own guards, now hunted her as if she were nothing more than a traitor. Before she could move, the human soldier stirred. His eyes opened, sharp and alert. He reached for his weapon instantly. "What is it?" he whispered. She hesitated. Part of her wanted to tell him nothing, to let her people see her. But the memory of their words echoed in her mind. They wanted her dead, not them, she whispered, her voice shaking. "My people, they are here." His grip on his weapon tightened. "Then we run." She wanted to argue, to tell him she could speak to them, explain herself. But deep down, she knew the truth. If she stepped into their light, they would end her life without hesitation. Her people had raised her to hate humans, but they had not warned her that hatred could turn so easily against her. The soldier moved quickly, guiding her toward the back of the ruined shelter. His hand brushed her arm, and for once she did not pull away. The sound of boots drew closer. A red light swept across the walls, searching. They escaped into the night, slipping through the alleys like shadows. The princess's heart pounded with every step. She could not believe what had happened. Her own warriors had betrayed her. And the only one who had protected her was the human she was supposed to despise. When they stopped to catch their breath, she turned on him. Her voice was sharp, but beneath it lay confusion. "Do you see? Even my own people think me unworthy. They would rather kill me than see me in your presence." He met her gaze steadily. "Then it looks like we only have each other." His words sent a strange shiver through her. She hated how calm he was, how certain. But a part of her longed for that steadiness, that strength. As dawn approached, they found shelter in an underground chamber beneath the city. The air was heavy with dust, but it was safe. Serenia sat on a broken pillar, her arms wrapped around herself. The soldier sat across from her, silent, watching the shadows. Finally, she broke the silence. "You should have left me. I am your enemy. My people would reward you for my death." He shook his head. "I don't fight for rewards. I fight to protect life, even yours." Her chest tightened again, the same way it had when he first saved her. His words were simple, yet they carried more weight than she wanted to admit. "You are strange," she whispered. "No human I was told about is like you." "Maybe you were told lies," he said. The word stung, because deep inside, she knew. He was right. She had been taught since birth that humans were monsters, yet here one was, saving her again and again. And her own people, the ones she trusted, had turned their weapons on her. The thought filled her with bitterness. But it also planted something dangerous. Doubt. As the hours passed, She found her eyes drifting toward him more often. The way he sat, ready to protect her. The way he spoke without fear. He was nothing like the image of human she had carried all her life. And that unsettled her more than any battle. When the silence grew too heavy, he finally asked, "What will you do, princess? If your people want you dead, where will you go?" She looked at him, her voice quiet. "I don't know. Everything I believed feels broken." His expression softened, though he hid it behind his usual calm. "Then maybe it's time to see the truth for yourself, not through the lies of others." Her heart stirred, unwilling to admit how his words touched her. She wanted to hold on to her hate was easier. But now, with every passing moment, she felt it slipping away. The shadows of betrayal weighed heavy on her soul. And in the silence of that ruined chamber, she realized something terrifying. The only person she could trust now was the human she had sworn to hate. Asterisk. The underground chamber felt colder as hours passed. Princess Serenia sat in silence, her golden eyes fixed on the cracks above where faint sunlight leaked through. She had not slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard her people's voices calling for her death. Her heart, once so certain its hate for humans, now felt heavy with doubt. The human soldier moved quietly around the chamber, checking his weapon, setting small traps at the entrance, and ensuring their path remained hidden. His actions were precise, almost ritualistic. He seemed built for survival, and yet there was no cruelty in his movements. He was calm, steady, and strangely protective. She watched him, her pride resisting every thought, but her eyes betrayed her. "Why do you fight like this?" she asked suddenly. Her voice cut through the silence like a blade. He looked at her, surprised by her question. "Because if I don't, people die." "Not your people," she pressed. "Mine, you should want me dead." He studied her for a long moment before replying. "Maybe, but I don't kill those who don't deserve it. You don't." The answer unsettled her. She wanted to dismiss it, to call it weakness. But she remembered the look in her soldiers' eyes when they spoke of ending her. There was no mercy there. Only fear and obedience. Yet this human, her sworn enemy, showed her a mercy her own kind refused. They left the chamber at nightfall, moving through the ruined streets. Fires still smoldered in the distance, and the cries of the wounded echoed like ghosts. Serenia's blade remained in her hand, though she had not lifted it once since the battle. The human soldier led the way, cautious but confident, his presence like a shield between her and the chaos. As they crossed a broken bridge, they heard screams. Serenia froze. A small group of alien civilians huddled under the wreckage, surrounded by scavengers who sought to rob and kill. For a moment, she expected the human to ignore it, to walk past. After all, they were her people, not his. But he didn't hesitate. He charged forward, weapon raised, his movements swift and precise. The scavengers scattered under his assault, some falling, others fleeing. Serenia watched in shock as he stood before the frightened civilians, lowering his weapon slowly to show he meant no harm. The civilians trembled, confused, unsure if they should fear him. Serenia stepped forward then, lifting her chin with royal authority. "You are safe," she told them, her voice firm, though her heart raced. "This human will not harm you. He fights beside me." The civilians bowed quickly, gathering their children, and fled into the ruins. Serenia stood frozen for a moment. She had spoken as if it were true, as if he was her protector. And in that moment, she realized it was. When they were alone again, the soldier gave her a small, almost tired smile. "Didn't think you'd vouch for me." Her pride prickled. "Don't mistake it for loyalty. I only spoke to calm them." But deep inside, she knew it was more. She had defended him, not as an enemy, but as someone who had earned her trust. They continued onward, but something had changed. The wall of hate in her chest had cracked. and through it slipped a light she had long resisted. Later that night, they camped in the shell of an ancient temple. The soldier sat near the fire he had built, his face lit by the flames. Serenia sat across from him, unable to tear her eyes away. She studied the lines of his face, the calm strength in his gaze. For so long, she had believed humans to be beasts of war, monsters of destruction. Yet here one sat, tired and wounded, fighting not for conquest but for survival and for her. She spoke softly, her voice carrying a weight she could not hide. "You risk your life for me again and again. Why?" He looked at her, the firelight reflecting in his dark eyes. "Because you matter, not as a princess, not as my enemy, just as you." The words struck her heart like an arrow. No one had ever spoken to her that way. Her people saw her as royalty, as duty, as bloodline. He saw her as herself. Serenia turned away quickly, afraid he might see the emotions in her eyes. Her heart beat faster than she wanted to admit. She told herself it was nothing, that it meant nothing. Yet as the fire crackled between them, the truth pressed harder against the walls she had built. She had sworn to hate all humans. She had promised herself she would never see them as more than enemies. But this human was breaking those promises with every word, every act of courage, every moment he stood at her side. The walls were falling, and in their place something new was rising. Something she had no name for, but it terrified her more than any war. The temple ruins lay quiet under the silver glow of the twin moons. Princess Serenia sat awake by the dying fire, her mind a storm of thoughts she could not silence. The human soldier rested nearby, his head bowed, his body tense even in sleep. She envied his strength. He seemed unshaken by fear, while she was torn apart inside. She had been raised to despise humans, to see them as poison upon the stars. Yet this one had saved her life again and again. He had shown her courage, mercy, and even kindness. And in the silence of the temple, she could not deny it anymore. Her heart was no longer her own. But dawn came with shadows. A signal flare lit the horizon, crimson against the sky. Her people were near. Soon they would find her. When the human opened his eyes, he saw the worry on her face. "They're close," he said, his voice steady. Serenia nodded, her throat tight. "My people will not spare me. They think me tainted because of you." He looked at her carefully. "Then you need to choose. Do you go back to them, or do you keep walking with me?" Her chest tightened. It sounded simple, but it was not. To go with him would mean betraying her empire, her blood, her family. To return to her people meant condemning him, perhaps even herself. The sound of marching boots broke her thoughts. Soldiers emerged from the ruins, armored and armed, their banners catching the wind. Her people. The Empire's crest glowed upon their chests. The commander stepped forward. His eyes locked on her with cold authority. "Princess Serenia," he called, his voice sharp. "By decree of the Empire, you are to return at once. This human will be executed. Come now, and your life will be spared." The words cut her deeply. They offered her safety, but only if she abandoned the man who had saved her. She looked at him, her heart twisting. He stood tall, weapon ready, his eyes calm though he knew he was outnumbered. She wanted to scream. She wanted to deny the truth, building in her chest, but she could not look away from him. This human was not her enemy anymore. He had become more than that, something she could not name but felt. Stronger than any duty. The commander's voice grew sharper. "Do not hesitate, princess. Step away from him now." Her hands trembled. Her blade felt heavy in her grip. She thought of the lessons drilled into her since childhood: duty, loyalty, hatred of humans. Yet when she remembered the soldier pulling her from fire, standing against her hunters, sparing the lives of her own civilians, those lessons cracked and fell away. The human spoke then, his voice low, meant only for her. "Go, If you leave now, they'll spare you. Don't risk yourself for me." The words made her heart ache. Even now, facing death, he thought of her. She turned to him, her eyes burning with something she could not hold back anymore. "You fool," she whispered. "Don't you see? I cannot go back. Not without betraying what I feel now." The commander grew impatient. He raised his hand, signaling his soldiers. "Enough. Take her. Kill the human." The soldiers moved forward. In that instant, Serenia made her choice. She stepped in front of the human, her blade raised. "Stop!" Her voice rang across the ruins, sharper than steel. "If you harm him, you will answer to me. This man saved my life. He is under my protection." The soldiers hesitated, their boots grinding to a halt. Murmurs spread through their ranks. None had expected this. The commander's face darkened. "Princess, you dishonor your crown. Step aside." Serenia shook her head. "No, for too long I believed your lies about humans. But this one has shown me the truth. He is braver than any of you. And if you want his blood, you must take mine first." The silence that followed was heavy, suffocating. The commander's jaw tightened, his hand still raised. But the soldiers did not move. They stared at their princess, torn between duty and loyalty. The human stood behind her, his voice quiet but filled with strength. "You don't have to do this." She glanced back at him, her eyes soft but unyielding. "Yes, I do. Because, for the first time, this choice is mine, and I choose you." The words sealed her fate. The princess who once despised humans had now defied her people for one. Her heart had made its decision, and the walls of hate within her crumbled completely. As the soldiers stood frozen, the commander shouted in rage, "Then you are lost to us." The air trembled with tension, weapons ready, hearts pounding. And in that moment, Serenia knew there was no turning back. She had chosen the human. She had chosen love over hatred, truth over lies. The war around them still burned. But inside her, a new fire had begun, one that would never be extinguished. The soldiers of the Empire stood frozen in the ruins, their weapons raised but their hands trembling. None dared move. The sight before them defied everything they believed. Princess Serenia, heir to the throne, now stood side by side with a human, her blade drawn not against him but against her own people. The commander's face twisted with rage. His voice thundered across the ruined square. "Princess, you shame your crown. Step aside, or you will be struck down as a traitor." Serenia's heart pounded, but her voice was clear and steady. "No, for too long I lived under lies. You told me humans were monsters, destroyers without honor. But this man has shown me courage. He has saved me when you would have left me to die. If that makes me a traitor, then so be it." The human soldier remained silent behind her, his weapon ready, though his eyes stayed on her. He knew she had already made her choice. The soldiers shifted uneasily. They had trained their whole lives to obey, but here was their prince's royalty, blood of their rulers defying the Empire's command. Some lowered their weapons slowly, doubt creeping into their hearts. The commander barked at them furiously. "She is compromised. She no longer carries the blood of loyalty. End them both." But when he raised his hand, few followed. The hesitation spread like fire. The princess's words carried weight that the commander's fury could not silence. Serenia took a step forward, her blade glinting in the pale light. Her voice carried over the ruins with the strength of her ancestors. "Listen to me. I am your princess, and I speak the truth you were never told. Humans are not the monsters you were taught to fear. Hate has blinded us for too long. If I, who was raised to despise them most, can see this truth, then so can you." A murmur rippled through the soldiers. Their eyes darted between her and the commander. Doubt was now louder than fear. The human leaned closer, whispering, "They won't all believe you. Be ready. She nodded, her grip tightening on the blade. Yet even as her fear rose, something else burned stronger resolve. The commander's fury boiled over. With a roar, he drew his own weapon and charged. His blade struck against hers, sparks flashing in the dark. Serenia met him with every ounce of strength she had, her arms trembling but her spirit unbroken. The clash was fierce. She had trained for years in the halls of her palace, but never had she fought against one of her own in battle. The commander's strikes were heavy, each one meant to end her quickly. Still, she held her ground. The human joined the fight, deflecting attacks from soldiers who still obeyed their commander. His movements were swift, brutal, precise. Together, they fought back to back, an unlikely pair, princes and human facing the empire itself. When the commander raised his blade for the final strike, Serenia twisted, her blade catching his mid-swing. With a cry, she drove him back, forcing him to his knees. Her chest heaved as she stood over him. "Your time is done," she said, her voice trembling with fury and sorrow. "You would rather kill your own princes than see the truth." She struck, disarming him and sending his weapon clattering to the stone. The soldiers around them froze. Their leader lay defeated at her feet. For a long, heavy silence, no one moved. Then slowly, one by one, the soldiers lowered their weapons. They knelt, not to the commander, but to her. The human stood beside her, his weapon still ready, but his eyes softened. "Looks like they chose you." Serenia's golden eyes met his. Her voice broke with emotion, yet carried strength. "No, I chose you. And in choosing you, I found myself." The soldiers looked on in silence as their princess lowered her blade. Her words echoed in the ruins like a vow. "The war between us ends here. Hatred ends here. I will not lead my people through lies anymore. This human has shown me what honor is, and if you call me traitor for loving him, then I will build a new crown upon that truth." Gasps rippled through the soldiers, but none dared rise against her. They had seen her defeat their commander. They had seen her courage. The human lowered his weapon, finally allowing himself a weary breath. "You just changed everything," he said quietly. She looked at him, her pride and hatred gone, replaced by something brighter. "Yes, I changed because of you." The dawn broke across the horizon, casting golden light over the ruins. The war still raged across the stars, but here, in this place, something greater had been born. The alien princess who once despised humans now stood beside one, not as enemy and protector, but as equals. As something more. Her people had come to kill her. Instead, they had witnessed her answer, and with that answer, the future of two worlds began to change forever.